You know, it is it's a universally frustrating experience. I think basically everyone tuning into this deep dive today has felt it at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're in the middle of a conversation, you're feeling confident, the vibes are good, you know the exact word you want to use. You've basically built this like perfect, grammatically flawless sentence inside your head.
Right, you can see it on a whiteboard in your mind.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can practically see the words floating right in front of you. And then you open your mouth and it just vanishes. Like your brain knew it perfectly, but your mouth somehow didn't get the memo and suddenly you are just stammering.
Yeah, the classic disconnect.
Or even worse, you try to say it and something completely different, totally embarrassing comes out instead. I mean, I have to share this because it still genuinely haunts me. I once tried to order a chicken sandwich in Mexico City. Yeah. I had practiced the phrase in my head. I walked up to the counter, the smell of fresh tortillas in the air. I made this really confident eye contact. And because my mouth just completely misfired on the Spanish pronunciation, the pacing, instead of ordering pollo asado, I confidently ordered a pollo esposo, which means a chicken husband.
Oh, no. Chicken husband. Wait, how did the waiter even react to that?
Just total silence. Like he just gave me this look. The exact look. You give a very confused, very sweet golden retriever puppy.
Right, just pure pity.
Exactly. And the worst part was the physiological response I had right after. My heart rate just spiked. I started sweating, and I felt my intelligence just like draining out of my body. I felt so incredibly stupid in that moment, even though I logically knew the vocabulary.
Yeah, that physiological panic is the absolute classic deer in the headlights moment of language learning.
Yeah.
It's entirely universal. Your prefrontal cortex basically just hit a brick wall.
It really did.
But what we really need to examine here is the assumption you made, and honestly, the assumption that everyone makes when that happens. When your brain goes blank or your tongue ties itself in a knot, your immediate thought is like, oh, my memory's failing me, or my vocabulary just isn't big enough.
Right, or I'm just not smart enough to hold a fluent conversation.
Exactly. You blame your grasp of the language itself. But the reality, we are looking at the wrong organ entirely. That is not a memory problem. It is definitely not an intelligence problem. Honestly, whether we're talking about Spanish or English, it is not even a language problem. It is a mouth problem.
Okay, wait, let's pull on that thread. A mouth problem. Are you saying that knowing the language conceptually and actually physically speaking the language are completely different biological functions?
Yes. We have to fundamentally shift our paradigm here for this deep dive. We need to move away from the textbooks and get into biology. Speaking a language is not a mental exercise. It is a physical skill. It relies heavily on the motor cortex, not just the language centers of the brain like Broca's or Wernicke's areas. It is physical. In the exact same way that, playing a complicated chord on the guitar is physical, or doing a kickflip on a skateboard.
Or riding a bike, right.
Exactly, riding a bike. You do not learn to ride a bike by sitting in a chair, reading a physics textbook, and just thinking really, really hard about the center of gravity.
Right, you just fall over immediately.
You'd crash. Your body simply has to know what to do. Your mouth is this incredibly complex system of muscles, your tongue, your lips, your jaw, your vocal cords, and they all require deep, repeated muscle memory to coordinate.
So true.
If your mouth has only ever practiced the slow, separated, textbook version of English, then the fast, melted, natural version is going to feel literally impossible. Your tongue literally has habits.
I'm visualizing this right now, like a gym membership you bought on January 1st and then just never used.
Yes, the phantom gym membership.
Right. All the equipment is right there.
Yeah.
The treadmills are plugged in, the weights are stacked, the kettlebells are shiny. You possess the physical capability to use all of them, but you just never showed up to train the muscles. You can't just walk in on day one and deadlift 400 pounds just because you understand how a deadlift works.
That is the perfect analogy.
But I want to explore the resistance people feel here, because I think a lot of our listeners might be feeling it right now. If this is purely a physical, biomechanical issue, why do I know brilliant people who have studied English grammar for like 10, maybe 15 years, people who know every obscure, irregular verb by heart, but when they speak, they sound like they are reading a ransom note cut out of a magazine?
The ransom note.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would like to buy an egg, please.
Yeah.
It's entirely robotic. Why does that massive database of mental knowledge not just automatically translate to the mouth?
The ransom note analogy is so perfect to set up our actual mission for this deep dive. The reason they sound like they are reading a hostage note is because they were trained in the official way, the textbook way, the way that forces your mouth to do Olympic-level gymnastics for every single syllable.
Right, making sure every letter is heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Traditional education treats spoken language like written language that's just being read aloud. But native English speakers absolutely do not speak that way. We speak what I like to call lazy English.
Lazy English, I like that.
We are so lazy. We take massive shortcuts. We smash words together. We literally drop entire consonants into the void. We cheat the phonetic system at every possible turn just to conserve physical energy.
Wow.
And if you want to understand native speakers in the wild, and more importantly, if you want to speak smoothly without exhausting your own jaw muscles, you have to learn the hidden biomechanical rules of this lazy, connected speech.
Okay, so the goal isn't just to speak faster, because I think the natural instinct for a learner who wants to sound fluent is to assume, oh, I just need to speed up my hostage note. I need to say, I would like to buy an egg at double speed.
Oh, please don't do that.
But trying to do that is what leads to the chicken husband panic, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. Trying to speak faster while maintaining that rigid word-by-word pronunciation is exactly what exhausts your jaw and causes your brain to just freeze up. It requires way too much articulatory effort. Native speakers are not speaking fast because they are trying hard or because their brains process information at some higher speed.
Right.
They are speaking fast because they're doing everything biologically possible to move their mouths as little as humanly possible.
To understand why the textbook fails us, we have to look at the underlying rhythm of the language. Using that rigid pronunciation it's like driving a high-performance sports car, but slamming on the brakes at every single green light. Stop, go, stop, go.
It's a terrible ride.
It's exhausting for the driver, it's awful for the passenger, and it honestly just destroys the engine. So if we take our foot off the brake, what is the actual rhythm we are supposed to be driving to?
This brings us to a really major concept in linguistics. English is what we call the stress-timed language. Think of this as the invisible drumbeat running beneath every native conversation.
A drumbeat.
Yeah. In a stress-timed language, we do not give every single word equal time or equal energy. Instead, we divide words into two categories: strong words and weak words.
The strong and weak.
Right. Strong words are your nouns, your main verbs, your adjectives, the content words that carry the actual meaning of the sentence. Weak words are just the grammatical glue. Words like to, for, and of, the, would have. Native speakers hit those strong words like a heavy, steady drum beat, and they squeeze, squash, and just compress all the weak words to fit into the acoustic spaces between the beats.
I feel like we need a tangible demonstration for the listener right now, because hearing the theory of stress timing is one thing, but feeling the physical constraints of it is totally different.
Definitely, we need to feel it.
So we have this incredible exercise from our research regarding the phrase cats eat fish. Let's walk you all through this. Wherever you are right now, unless you are, operating heavy machinery, I want you to tap your hand on a table or your steering wheel or your leg. Give me 3 even, steady beats, like tap, tap, tap. Okay, on those beats, say the strong words, cats eat fish.
3 beats, 3 words, very straightforward. Your motor cortex handles that so easily. But now, I want you to keep that exact same tempo tapping. Do not slow down the physical taps of your hand and say, the cats will eat the fish.
Okay, let me try this live. Tap, tap, tap. The cats will eat the fish. Wow, okay, it still perfectly fits the 3 beats. The hand tapping didn't change speed at all.
See? We added words the, will, the, but the physical time it took to say the sentence did not change. The beats remain the anchors. Now let's push the cognitive load even further.
Bring it on.
Keep the exact same 3 taps. Do not slow down. Try to say, the cats would have eaten the fish.
All right, let me try not to trip over my own tongue here. Tap, tap, tap. The cats would have eaten the fish. Wait, no, let me try that middle part again. I totally lost the beat.
It's tricky. Try again.
Tap, tap, tap. The cats would have eaten the fish. Oh, that is wild. It still takes the exact same amount of time. Would have, and the second half of eaten all just got crammed into the tiny fraction of a second right before the next drum beat.
That is the magic and honestly the sheer efficiency of a stress-timed language. The strong words, cats eat fish, are the anchors. They get the stress, they get the time, they get the physical energy from your lungs. The time between those stressed words is roughly equal, no matter how many small grammatical glee words you stuff in between them.
That makes so much sense.
If you try to give would, have, and their own individual drum beats, you instantly sound like that hostage note reading robot we talked about.
This reminds me of that brilliant anecdote in the source material about a student named Yuki who came from Japan. And Japan, linguistically speaking, operates on a completely different rhythmic operating system, right?
That's right. Japanese is a syllable-timed language, which is essentially the exact opposite of stress-timed.
Okay, how does that work?
In a syllable-timed language like Japanese or Spanish or French, practically every single syllable gets the exact same amount of time and physical weight.
Hmm.
It is a very even, steady cadence. So Yuki, who was this very dedicated student, very precise, was naturally applying her native biological rhythm to English.
Because it's muscle memory.
Exactly. When she spoke, it sounded like a machine gun.
Yeah.
I'm going to the store. Every word was perfectly even, perfectly articulated, and she was incredibly frustrated because despite her completely flawless grammar, native speakers were constantly asking her to repeat herself.
Which has to be just devastating. She's probably walking away from those interactions thinking, my pronunciation of every single vowel and consonant is flawless. I memorized the entire dictionary. Why don't you understand me?
It's deeply discouraging. Her vocabulary was perfect, but because she lacked that stress-timed drum beat, her listeners' brains didn't know where to focus.
Oh, because everything was loud.
Yes. Native English ears are trained to listen for the heavy beats to extract meaning. When every single word is loud and clear, nothing stands out. The listener experiences cognitive overload trying to parse grammatical glue words as if they are important content. So her instructor tried a completely different approach. He asked her to try saying her sentence again, but this time to pretend she was singing.
Oh man, I can only imagine the look of absolute betrayal she gave her instructor, like, I am paying tuition to learn English, not to perform karaoke.
Oh, she definitely thought he had lost his mind. But the instructor clarified, I don't mean sing a melody, I mean add a musical rhythm. I want you to find the groove. The instructor demonstrated the stress. I'm going to go to the store. And then he asked Yuki to physically tap the table on the strong words, just like we did with the cats and the fish.
Getting the physical body involved.
Right. Go to store. She took a deep breath, physically tapped the table to engage her motor cortex, and said, I'm going to go to the store. And instantly, literally in one attempt, her English became clear, smooth, and entirely natural to the native ear.
That is a massive aha moment. It's like finding the right frequency on a radio dial. You realize that fluency isn't about knowing more words, it's about finding the groove of the language. And this brings up a massive mechanical question. If we are drumming on the big words, cats, eat, fish, what is physically happening inside the mouth to all those tiny glue words that get squeezed into the microseconds between the beats? Do we just say the vowels really, really fast?
I mean, we don't just say them fast. The biomechanics actually don't allow for that.
Okay.
And we actually destroy their original sounds. We mutate them into something that requires way less physical effort. And the primary weapon of this linguistic destruction is a concept called the schwa.
The schwa. I love that word. It sounds like an obscure yoga pose or a supervillain name. What exactly is a schwa?
It is the most common, most powerful vowel sound in the entire English language, and yet it has absolutely zero personality. It's zero. If you look at the International Phonetic Alphabet, it's represented by an upside-down lowercase e. The schwa is the lazy sound. The reason it is so common is purely biomechanical. It requires zero jaw movement, zero lip rounding, and zero tongue placement. Mm-hmm. Your vocal tract is completely at rest.
Wow.
It is literally the sound your body makes if you are standing there completely relaxed and someone walks up and lightly punches you in the stomach. Air just escapes. Just.
I can actually feel that right now. My tongue is just lying dead on the floor of my mouth. It takes absolutely zero energy to make that sound.
And because native speakers are prioritizing physical efficiency, because, again, we're lazy almost every single week. Unstressed word in a sentence, and every unstressed syllable within longer words gets reduced to that zero-energy schwa.
I think we need to turn this into a game of discovery for the listener, because seeing the theory applied to real words is honestly mind-blowing. Let's take the word to, T-O. In a dictionary, it's pronounced to. Your lips are pushed forward. But in a fast, stress-time sentence,
the lips relax completely. The oo becomes a schwa. It becomes ta, or even just ta. You don't say, I have to go to work. The physical effort of rounding your lips twice is way too high. So you say, I have to go to work.
Okay, what about the word for? FOR dictionary says for.
The jaw drops, the lips relax. It becomes fur, not this is for you, but this is for you.
Oh man, this is so real. What about the word and? A-N-D.
Now this one is fascinating because it loses almost all its structural integrity. The A turns into a schwa, and the D usually gets dropped completely, because stopping the airflow for a D takes too much work.
So what's left?
It just becomes an N sound.
Yeah.
This is exactly why we don't say rock and roll. We say rock and roll, salt and pepper, macaroni and cheese.
That explains so much. The way it's written on menus or band posters like rock and roll with the little apostrophes isn't just a stylistic cool choice. It's literally a phonetic transcription of lazy English.
Exactly.
Okay, one more. The word of, OF.
The O becomes a schwa, and the S usually vanishes. It becomes or sometimes just A. So a cup of coffee becomes a cup of coffee. A lot of money becomes a lot of money.
Okay, I have to step in and push back here because I can hear the objections from our listeners who have spent years in formal, rigorous education systems. If I'm intentionally mumbling my words, right, if I'm walking into a room and saying fur instead of for and ta instead of to, aren't native speakers going to think I'm uneducated or sloppy? I mean, my high school English teacher would have given me a failing grade for saying a cup of coffee in an oral presentation.
This raises a crucially important point about sociolinguistics and cultural perception. We are taught in school that precision equals intelligence, that articulating every letter proves you are highly educated.
Right.
But spoken English operates in a high-context acoustic environment. Overpronouncing those grammatical prepositions actually makes you sound stranger to a native ear. It makes you sound rigid, and ironically, it makes you sound less fluent.
Wait, why does precision make you sound less fluent? That feels completely backwards to everything we've ever been taught.
Because it violates the rhythmic contract we unconsciously expect. Imagine you are at a casual house party, you're holding a paper plate with some chips on it, music is playing, and you hand your friend a birthday gift. If you look them dead in the eye and enunciate perfectly, "I brought this present for you and for your friend," you sound like you are delivering a monologue in a Shakespearean play.
That's amazing.
It's incredibly intense.
Yeah.
The listener's brain is forced to process all those glue words as if they contain important new information. You are telling their brain, pay attention to the word for, which is cognitively exhausting for them.
That is hilarious. You're giving this epic, dramatic movie speech over a bowl of guacamole. For you and for your friend. You sound like a time traveler from the 1800s.
And people will subconsciously take a physical step back from you. Because it's weird. Whereas the casual, natural, appropriate way to say it is, "I brought this present for you and for your friend." You relax your jaw. You let the schwa do the heavy lifting of the weak syllables. It signals to the listener's brain, we are relaxed, we are communicating smoothly, you only need to focus your cognitive energy on the important words. Present, you, friend.
So using the schwa isn't a sign of poor education. It is a sign of high-level fluency. It is literally the audio signal of comfort.
Exactly. It shows you have mastered the cultural rhythm, not just the vocabulary.
So let's look at the acoustic spaces between words for a second. We've established the drum beat. We've shrunk the glue words down to these lazy, zero-energy sounds. But if I'm visualizing this on a sound wave, we still have separate words. We just have smaller separate words. But when I listen to a native speaker, it doesn't sound like separate words at all. There are no gaps. It sounds like one massive, unbroken stream of noise.
That brings us to the biomechanics of what linguists call connected speech, or what we can call the magic glue.
The magic glue.
Yes. If you want your mouth to never stop making sound, you have to learn how to build physical bridges between words instead of walls.
Let's break down the rules of this magic glue. The most common one is consonant to vowel linking. What is mechanically happening in the throat when we do this?
To really understand this, if you're listening, place 2 fingers lightly on the front of your throat, right over your vocal cords.
Okay, I'm doing it.
When you speak a vowel sound, your vocal cords vibrate. They're like a motor running. Whenever a word ends in a consonant sound, like an N, a T, a K, or an L, and the very next word begins with a vowel sound, traditional speaking tells you to finish the first word, stop the motor, and restart the motor for the next word.
Right.
But starting and stopping the vocal cords takes effort. So instead of stopping, you take that final consonant, rip it off the first word, and glue it directly onto the front of the next word. You literally move the letter to keep the motor running smoothly.
Okay, listener, let's practice this right now. The phrase is turn off. Turnoff.
If you say turn off, you are building a wall. Your vocal cords stop vibrating during the gap. But if you take that N and glue it to the O and off, you get turn off. Say it out loud. Turn off. Your vocal cords never stop buzzing.
Turn off. Wow, it genuinely feels like one single word. Turn off. What about the phrase check in? like arriving at a hotel.
Move the K sound. It becomes check in. I need to check in. Move the N. An apple. I ate an apple.
This mechanism reminds me of the story of Kenji from our sources. This one really stuck with me because it highlights how devastating it can be socially when you have the intellectual knowledge but not the physical linking.
Kenji's story is such a vital case study in acoustic gaps. He was a brilliant engineer who moved to the U.S. He knew English grammar inside and out. His individual pronunciation of every single isolated word was technically flawless.
So what was the issue?
He put a distinct micropause between every single word. He spoke like this. And because of that acoustic gap, people constantly asked him to repeat himself. He thought his pronunciation was terrible and his accent was too thick, but it wasn't. His problem was the empty space.
It's the sports car hitting the brakes at every green light again. The listener's brain is constantly starting and stopping right alongside him.
Right. The listener's brain was struggling to group the words into meaningful phrases because the physical delivery was so fragmented. So his instructor gave him just one physical task for an entire week. Link your end consonants to your starting vowels. That was his only homework.
And what happened?
7 days later, he went to his local coffee shop, ordered his really complex espresso drink, and the barista understood him perfectly on the very first try. He told his instructor he almost cried.
Wow.
That is how isolating it can feel when your rhythm is mechanically off, and how liberating it is when you finally click into the natural, unbroken flow of the language.
It changes everything. You go from feeling like an outsider, constantly second-guessing your intelligence, to feeling like you actually belong in the conversation. But this raises a new mechanical problem. What happens when you don't have a consonant to act as the glue?
Good question.
What happens when two vowels crash into each other? Like if one word ends in a vowel and the next word starts with a vowel, let's take the phrase go out. When I say that slowly, I feel my throat physically lock up to create a gap between the O and the O.
When two vowels crash, the vocal cords want to keep vibrating, but the mouth needs to transition between two completely different open shapes. To bridge that gap, the mouth naturally creates an invisible helper consonant. We call these invisible glides.
Invisible glides.
Yes, and there are two of them, the W glide and the Y glide. The beauty of this is that you don't even have to memorize a complex grammar rule to know which one to use. You just have to pay attention to the physical shape of your lips.
Oh, this is where it gets highly physical.
Okay.
Let's look at the biomechanics of the W glide first.
If the first word ends in a vowel sound that forces your lips into a tight, rounded O shape, like an O, a U, or an W sound, your mouth will naturally insert a tiny, invisible W sound before the next vowel, simply because your lips are already in the exact position to make a W. Take that phrase. Go out.
Let's do this together, listeners. Say the word go and hold it. Go! Notice your lips. They're pushed forward, rounded like a small circle.
Because your lips are already in that tight circle, the easiest, laziest way to transition to the wide ah sound in out is to glide through a W sound as you open your mouth. So it naturally becomes go out.
Go out. It's so subtle, but it's completely there. What about do it?
Do, lips are rounded. Add the W's you transition. Do it. Just do it.
Okay, so that's the rounded lips. Now, what about the Y glide? What is the mouth doing there?
If the first word ends in a vowel sound that pulls your lips wide into a smile shape like an E, an I, or an AY sound, your mouth will insert a tiny Y sound because your tongue is already high and flat in your mouth. Take the phrase, I am.
Smile wide on the I. Say it with me and hold it. Your mouth is stretched tight laterally.
Now glide to the open am. Naturally pulls a Y with it. I'm so tired.
Or see it.
See, lips are smiling. See it? Did you see it?
I want to turn this into a rapid-fire physical game with the listener. I am going to give you a 2-word phrase. I want you to say the first word out loud, hold it, pay attention to the physical shape of your lips, and intuitively guess if it needs a W glide or a Y glide to cross the bridge. Ready? Here we go. First phrase, blue ink. Say it out loud. Blue.
Look at your lips on glue. They're pushed forward and rounded, so you glide to the W blue ink.
Nice. Next one. Pay all. Say it. Pay.
Your mouth is stretched wide in a smile. Tongue is high. It gets the Y. Pay all.
Okay, how about so honest?
Rounded lips. W glide. So honest.
Last one. Free ice.
Free. Smiling lips. Y glide. Free ice.
It is genuinely like a magic trick that your mouth performs without your conscious brain even realizing it. Once you know the physical secret, you hear it everywhere. It's everywhere.
So we've shrunk the glue words with the schwa. We've linked the consonants across the gaps. We've glided seamlessly between the crashing vowels. But we have to address the elephant in the room, or rather, the letters in the room that just absolutely refuse to cooperate.
Yeah.
There are certain consonants that just stubbornly get in the way of our lazy, sliding speech. I'm looking directly at the letter T.
Ah, the American T. This is perhaps the most famous, most analyzed trademark of North American English. Linguists call it the alveolar flap, or the flap T. But I actually like your visual better, the water slide.
Explain the biomechanics of the water slide. Why does the T behave so strangely?
It comes back to the vocal cords and the alveolar ridge, which is that hard, bumpy ridge right behind your top front teeth. To make a crisp, sharp dictionary T, you have to stop your vocal cords from vibrating, press your tongue hard against that ridge to build up air pressure, and then release it with a tiny explosion of air. It is a high-effort, voiceless consonant.
Sounds exhausting. It is. But when a T sits directly between two vowel sounds, which are both voiced and vibrating, stopping the motor just to make a crisp T is incredibly inefficient.
So the lazy American tongue just says, yeah, I'm not stopping the motor for this.
Exactly. Instead of stopping completely to build up air pressure, the tongue just surfs the wave of vocal cord vibration, quickly taps the roof of the mouth, and bounces off.
Wow.
Because the vocal cords never stop vibrating, that T physically morphs into a soft, fast D sound.
Let's give some classic examples of this transformation. You don't say water.
You surf the vibration, it becomes water.
You don't say better.
It becomes better.
Seedy way.
CD.
It really does feel like a water slide. You just hit the top of your mouth for a millisecond and slide right down into the next vowel without losing any momentum. Water.
Yeah.
Water. City.
But wait, there has to be an exception, right? Because I definitely hear Americans pronounce sharp T's sometimes in the middle of words.
Yes, there is a very important structural exception, which we can call the boss rule.
The boss rule. The T only gets lazy and turns into a water slide when nobody important is watching, meaning it only flaps into a D if the syllable immediately following it is an unstressed, weak beat. But if the next syllable is a stressed drum beat, the strong pulse of the word, the T, stands up straight, puts on a suit, and does its job properly.
Like the boss just walked into the room.
That's the perfect way to think of it. Think of the word hotel. The stress is heavily on the second syllable, hotel. Because that second syllable is a strong, anchored beat, the T requires the high-effort explosion of air. We do not say hodel, we say hotel.
Oh, that makes sense.
Same with the word attack. The stress is on tack, so it stays a crisp, sharp T. We don't say attack, we say at, tack.
So, if the T is falling down a hill into a weak, unimportant syllable, it turns into a water slide D. If it's climbing up a steep hill into a strong, stressed syllable, it has to dig in and stay a sharp T. That is a brilliant visual. And this flap T causes so much confusion for learners who are relying solely on acoustic training from textbooks. There is that hilarious but slightly painful story in our sources about Marco in New York City.
Yes, Marco walked into a loud, busy New York deli to buy a drink. He asked the cashier, using perfect textbook pronunciation, "May I have a bottle of water?" He hit those T's incredibly hard.
And what happened?
The cashier looked at him completely confused and said, "What's a water?" Marco repeated it, louder and more precise, "Water." The cashier finally realized what he was pointing at and said, "Oh, you mean a bottle of water. Why didn't you just say so?"
Bottle of water. It's like Marco was speaking Latin and the cashier was speaking Italian. Marco must have been furious. He pronounced it exactly how the dictionary told him to, applying maximum effort, and he got treated like an alien.
It highlights perfectly why learning spoken English biomechanics is so crucial. It's not just about you speaking clearly to be understood. It's about training your brain's acoustic processing to understand what native speakers are actually doing to the words. The cashier's brain literally could not parse the crisp T's in that context because he had never heard the word pronounced that way in a fast-paced conversation.
Wow.
And this laziness goes beyond just changing sounds to D's. Sometimes if a consonant is too much work, we just throw it in the trash completely.
Disappearing consonants. This is where we just give up entirely, right?
That's one way to put it. When a T or a D is stuck tightly between two other heavy consonant sounds, it creates a massive physical traffic jam in the mouth. It requires too much physical effort to pronounce all three consonants in a row. So we just drop the middle one.
Got an example.
Take the phrase next door, and E-X-T-D-O-R. The T is trapped between the complex X sound, which is actually a K and an S together, and the D sound.
If I try to say next door, I feel my throat physically lock up, stop the air, make the T, and then push out the D. It's so clunky.
It's terrible for the rhythms. We drop the T entirely. It becomes next door. I live next door.
What about last night? The T is trapped between S and N.
Drop the T. Last night.
Whoa.
Where were you last night?
Wow. Next door. Last night. Feels so much lighter in the mouth. It's like taking heavy weights off your tongue. Okay, so we've linked sounds, we've changed sounds to surf the vocal vibrations, we've deleted trapped sounds entirely, but now it is time for the main event. It is time to smash entire phrases together like we are playing with phonetic Lego blocks. We are entering the territory of speed reductions.
These are the heavy hitters of spoken American English. These are the words that every formal grammar textbook warns you against using, but every single native speaker uses 100 times a day. From the boardroom to the dive bar.
Let's run through the classics. I'm going to say the formal, rigid version, and you give me the real, biologically efficient version. Ready? Going to?
Gonna. I'm gonna leave. Wanna. I wanna eat.
Got to.
Gotta. I gotta go.
Kinda and outa.
Kinda and outa. I'm kinda tired. I'm out of here.
Now let's talk about the verbs of regret.
Yeah.
The past modals. Should have, could have, would have.
These become shoulda, coulda, woulda. The have gets completely hollowed out and reduces to just a schwa sound. I should have caught. I would have gone. And there's that famous movie line from On the Waterfront, famously parodied everywhere, that perfectly captures this emotional rhythm.
Oh, Marlon Brando in the back of the cab. I could have been a contender.
Exactly. If Marlon Brando had sat in that cab, enunciated perfectly, and said, I could have been a contender, it would have completely ruined the gritty, heartbreaking realism of the scene. Coulda is the sound of real human emotion. Perfection sounds rehearsed. Reductions sound authentic.
And this brings us to a phenomenon I like to call the consonant mergers. This is when a D or a T crashes into a Y, and instead of just dropping a letter, it creates a completely new, explosive sound.
This is sociolinguistics and assimilation at its finest. When sounds live next door to each other long enough, they start to blend. When a D sound is immediately followed by a Y sound, the tongue tries to make both shapes at the same time, and they merge to create a J sound. Like in the word judge. So did you becomes did ya. Would you becomes would ya.
Did you see that? Would you help me? And when a T meets a Y, they merge into a CH sound, like cheese. So don't you becomes don't ya. Nice to meet you becomes nice to meet ya.
Bunch of no. Meet ya at 5. It's incredibly common.
Okay, knowing these combinations, the D plus Y equals J and the T plus Y equals CH, we are finally ready to face the final boss of American English.
The final boss.
The phrase we teased earlier from the sources. This is a real grammatical common question that adults ask each other in offices, construction sites, and kitchens every single day. And it consists of only 2 highly mutated syllables. Jeet yet.
Let's dissect jeet yet. Step by step, because it is an absolute masterpiece of lazy English assimilation. It shows how language evolves in real time. The original formal dictionary sentence is 4 words. Did you eat yet?
Okay, step 1. Apply the D plus Y merger to the first 2 words.
Did you crashes together and becomes did ya. So now we have did you eat yet?
Step 2. The weak schwa at the end of did ya meets the strong vowel of eat.
The lazy at the end of did ya bumps into the strong stressed E sound in eat. Because the E carries the stress, the weak sound gets swallowed entirely. Did you eat physically links together and reduces to just one explosive syllable, jeet.
Step 3. Add the time marker at the end of the sentence.
Jeet yet.
Jeet yet. So that is incredible. 4 distinct words, did you eat yet, transforms completely into 2 syllables. Jeet yet. And what is the classic, entirely real response to this question?
The classic American response is, no Jew.
No Jew, which translates to...
No, did you. Did you. Morphs into did ya, which reduces down to just Jew.
Imagine being an English learner, fresh off the plane, walking into a break room in an American corporate office, and hearing 2 guys in expensive suits go, gee, yet, no Jew. Yeah, I want to grab something. Yeah, let me get my coat. You would think they were speaking a deeply regional underground dialect.
But they aren't. That is standard, ubiquitous, casual American English. It happens everywhere from New York to California. But, and this is exactly where we need to pump the brakes. We need to make a very firm, crucial disclaimer for our listeners.
Yes, let me play devil's advocate here. I am learning all these amazing, biologically efficient shortcuts. Jeet yet. Am I supposed to type this out in a formal email to my boss? Like, hey, Sarah, I'm going to be kind of late today because I got to grab a coffee. Gee, yet.
Absolutely not. Please do not send that email to your boss.
Yeah.
You'll be having a very different kind of conversation with human resources. This illustrates the duality of true fluency. Fluency is not just about knowing how to speak casually. It is knowing when to switch gears based on the social environment.
Gear switching. I love that term. Like driving a manual transmission car, you have to read the road.
Precisely. Written English and highly formal spoken English, like giving a keynote presentation, anchoring a news broadcast, or being in a high-stakes job interview, that is your formal gear. In that gear, you pronounce words more fully. You separate them slightly more to ensure absolute clarity. You don't use gonna or wanna when asking the CEO for a $1 million budget increase.
Right.
But casual spoken English with friends, at a coffee shop, at a family dinner, in the break room, that is your relaxed gear. That is where you use all these phonetic reductions. True fluency is possessing both gears and possessing the cultural intelligence to know which one the situation demands. It's like wearing a tuxedo to a formal wedding and sweatpants on your couch. You wouldn't mix them up, and you wouldn't judge someone for wearing sweatpants in their own living room.
That concept of cultural intelligence transitions us perfectly into our next phase of the deep dive. We've learned the phonetic sounds, we know the biomechanics of the mouth and the vocal cords, but knowing the physical sounds isn't enough. You have to know how to navigate them in the wild. You need emotional and cultural context. Because if you just memorize words without understanding how culture shapes communication, you end up in the danger zone. Let's talk about Diego's sandwich.
Poor Diego. This is a classic case of low-context textbook learning colliding with a high-context acoustic environment. Pico moved to Chicago, very proud of his English, having studied formal grammar for years in his home country. He walks into a fast-paced sandwich shop on his first week. The worker behind the counter looks at him and says super fast, "What you having today?"
Which is, of course, what are you having today, with every possible reduction and assimilation applied. What you having today?
Diego freezes. His brain cannot parse the acoustic sound wave. He knows the vocabulary words perfectly. He knows what are you having today, but he has never trained his auditory processing to hear them squished together into a 3-syllable blur. So in a sheer panic, trying to save face in a busy line, he just blurts out the first English food word that comes to mind. Pizza.
At a sandwich shop.
The worker just stares at him for a long second and says, "We don't have pizza, my man." Diego wanted the floor to open up and swallow him. The profound lesson here is that Diego didn't have a vocabulary problem. He had an acoustic training problem. He knew the words on a printed page, but not the context of how they actually sound in reality when heavily reduced.
It's the difference between seeing a tiger in a controlled zoo enclosure and encountering one in the dense jungle. The textbook zoo doesn't prepare you for the speed of the jungle. And context isn't just about the speed of sound. It's about cultural meaning and intention, too. Take Priya's hot mistake from the research.
This is a hilarious misunderstanding of cultural context. Priya wanted to tell her American friend that she felt particularly stylish and attractive in her new outfit. So she walked into the room, spun around, and proudly declared, "I am very hot today."
Which, if we diagram the sentence, is grammatically flawless. Subject, verb, adverb, adjective, time marker. A perfect textbook sentence.
Grammatically perfect, culturally disastrous. Her friend immediately got up with a concerned look and opened all the windows in the apartment, thinking Priya was talking about her internal body temperature. In American English, calling yourself hot out of nowhere without framing it usually just sounds like you are delivering a medical weather report about your own body. If you want to say you look good, you need to provide contextual framing. "I love this outfit," or "I'm really feeling myself today," or "Do I look hot in this?" It's a small contextual mix-up with literally freezing consequences.
She sat in a freezing apartment for 20 minutes because neither of them clarified the context. And speaking of cultural traps, we have to warn our listeners about the most dangerous, two-faced word in the entire North American English dictionary. The interesting trap.
Oh, the word interesting is a masterful linguistic chameleon. In a low-context, direct culture, words mean exactly what they mean. In those cultures, interesting is always a positive word. That's an interesting documentary. It means you are intellectually engaged, you are curious. But Americans, particularly in certain regions, use interesting as a highly polite, passive-aggressive escape hatch when they absolutely hate something but don't want to violate social norms by being directly rude.
Yes. If you cook a complicated soup for your American friend and they take a bite, chew slowly, pause, and say, "Oh, wow, this is interesting." That is a diplomatic emergency. They hate the soup.
Or if you show them a bad haircut. "Wow, interesting choice of shoes." It is the ultimate polite insult. You cannot just read the word. You have to listen to the tone, the facial expression, and the context. If they draw the vowels out, interesting, and their voice goes up at the end, they are frantically looking for a polite way to run away from the soup or the shoes.
I love decoding the psychology behind these seemingly simple words. Okay, so we've covered the biomechanical reductions, the acoustic speed, the cultural context. But earlier, when we were talking about the hostage note speakers, you said something that blew my mind. Fluency is not speed. Fluency is smoothness. If I shouldn't just talk as fast as possible to sound native, how do I manage my breathing and my pacing so I don't run out of air and panic in the middle of a complex sentence?
This is a critical point regarding cognitive load. A lot of learners, when they're trying to speak fast, pause whenever they physically run out of air or whenever they get nervous and need to search for a word. And they end up pausing right in the middle of a grammatical phrase. I went to the store to buy some eggs. That makes listeners deeply confused because in English, pauses carry structural meaning. Native speakers don't just breathe randomly. We speak in organized little packages. Linguists call them thought groups.
Thought groups, like putting specific words into little logical boxes.
Exactly. Human working memory can only hold about 7 items at a time. Each thought group package is a short sequence of words that belong together logically, like a subject and its verb, or a prepositional phrase. You say the whole package smoothly, without stopping, linking all the consonants and vowels inside that box, and then you take a tiny, deliberate breath between the packages, never inside them.
Can you give us an example of how moving the pause changes the perception of fluency?
Take the sentence, when I got home, I realized I forgot the eggs. Without thought groups, if you just pause when you panic, it might sound like, when I got home, I realized I forgot the eggs. It limps. It sounds nervous. The listener's brain is working overtime to stitch the chopped up meaning together.
Right. It feels incredibly disjointed, but with proper thought groups.
When I got home, I realized I forgot the eggs. 3 distinct packages. Smooth, confident, relaxed. Pausing between thought groups actually makes you sound more fluent and authoritative. If you listen to great orators Martin Luther King Jr. or Steve Jobs presenting an iPhone, they do not speak fast. They speak in incredibly well-defined, beautifully paced thought groups. A person who speaks slowly and smoothly in well-defined packages sounds infinitely more competent than someone who speaks a million miles an hour but chops up their phrases in the wrong spots.
This is so empowering for a learner. It means you don't have to rush. You don't have to keep up with the machine gun pace. You just have to group your words intelligently. When I got home, I realized I forgot the eggs. It actually gives your brain time to think about the next box.
It gives you complete control of the pacing. It allows you to breathe. It reduces your physiological anxiety. And it signals to the listener that you are confident and in command of what you are saying.
All right, we have covered an immense amount of ground. We've talked about stress-timed beats, the zero-energy schwa, the magic glue of linking, vocal cord vibrations, the water slide flap T, speed reductions, cultural context, and the cognitive science of thought groups. But as we established at the very beginning with the gym analogy, you can't get physically fit by just reading a book about swimming or listening to a deep dive about speaking. How do our listeners actually build this muscle memory starting today? What is the daily physical therapy workout to change their tongue habits?
The ultimate secret technique, the one specific habit that will transform your mouth biomechanics faster than anything else, is a practice called shadowing.
Shadowing. Break down the methodology of this. How exactly does it work?
Shadowing is literally physical therapy for your articulatory muscles. You take a very short clip of natural native English audio, a 30-second YouTube video, a clip from this podcast, a scene from a movie. First, you just listen to it to understand the context. Then you read the transcript to understand the vocabulary. But the magic happens in step 3. You play the audio, and you speak out loud at the exact same time as the native speaker.
Wait, you don't hit pause and repeat after them like in a traditional language lab. You speak simultaneously with them.
Simultaneously, like a shadow. You try to match their stress-timed rhythm, their consonant linking, their lazy reductions, even their emotional tone perfectly. You don't think about grammar rules. You don't try to translate the words into your native language. You just act as a physical mimic. You are forcing your tongue, your lips, and your vocal cords into the exact physical positions of real English. It engages the mirror neurons in your brain, mapping the auditory sound directly to your motor cortex.
It reminds me of the story of Marco from Brazil in the sources. Not the Marco at the New York Deli, but the college student Marco.
Yes, College Marco. He is a legend of brute force physical practice. He drove his college roommates absolutely crazy. Every single morning at 8 a.m., without fail, Marco would stand in his room and read his English textbook out loud for an entire hour. He wasn't shadowing native audio, it would have been better, but he was forcing his mouth to make the physical movements of the language continuously for 60 minutes. And the result. 6 months later, his accent was incredibly clear and his speaking confidence was vastly superior to every other international student in the graduate program. Because he treated speaking like a physical athletic workout, not a reading assignment, shadowing takes Marco's concept and perfects it by adding the native rhythm model to copy.
Okay, listener, I want you to try a micro session of shadowing right now. We're going to give you a sentence, and I want you to say it with our expert here, right on top of their voice. Match the rhythm, match the reductions. Ready?
I gotta run. I'll call you later, okay?
Say it simultaneously with them.
I gotta run. I'll call you later, okay?
One more time. Really exaggerate the laziness of it.
I gotta run. I'll call you later, okay?
If you did that, you just did a heavy bicep curl for your tongue. It forces your mouth out of its native habits, but the sources mention a step 4 to this shadowing process that sound absolutely agonizing to most people.
It is psychologically agonizing, but is neurologically necessary. Step 4 is you must record yourself doing the shadowing, and then you must listen back to the recording.
Ugh, why do we have to do that? Nobody likes the sound of their own voice. It sounds like a strange cartoon character.
Everyone hates it. But there's a fascinating anatomical reason for that, and a reason why it's necessary. When you speak, you hear your own voice through bone conduction. The sound vibrates through your skull, which makes your voice sound deeper and richer to you. But the rest of the world hears you through air conduction. The ears inside your head literally lie to you about how you sound. A recording tells you the objective air conduction truth. It shows you exactly where your rhythm is choppy, where you forgot a schwa, or where you missed a consonant link. 10 minutes of shadowing and recording yourself a day beats 2 hours of silent grammar study every single time. It closes the feedback loop.
Okay, before our listeners go out and start having rapid-fire conversations and recording themselves, are there any physical warm-ups they should do, like a runner stretching their hamstrings before a sprint?
Absolutely. Your mouth is a complex muscle group, and it works better when the blood is flowing. The sources provide some fantastic practical warm-ups. The first one is the simplest. Pretend you are chewing a giant piece of tough bubble gum.
Like really massive gum. Let me try this. Wow, I look ridiculous.
You look ridiculous, but it works. Move your jaw laterally. Open your mouth as wide as it goes, loosen your cheek and face muscles. Do this in the car or the bathroom stall before a big meeting or presentation. It relieves the physical tension that causes stuttering.
What about a specific vocal warm-up to target the biomechanics we learned?
We can use the lazy T bounce to warm up the alveolar ridge. We take a tongue twister and focus entirely on the flap T, the water slide. The phrase is, Betty bought a bit of butter.
Oh, I see it. The T's are surrounded by vowels. Bitty, bitty, bada, 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 bit of butter, butter, butter.
Say it slowly to feel the tongue bouncing off the ridge.
Bitty, bada, bit of butter.
Now speed it up, surfing the vocal cord vibration. Betty bought a bit of butter. It's like your tongue is doing jumping jacks.
Let's do the linking chain warm-up too, the magic glue practice.
This is great for consonant to vowel linking. Pick it up, put it on, take it off, throw it out. Link every single N consonant to the next vowel. Pick it up, put it on, take it off, throw it out.
Say it fast, pick it up, put it on, take off, throw it out. Oh man, my mouth actually feels like it's been sprinting. This is an intense physical workout, but it leads us perfectly into the final challenge for our listeners. We are giving you homework. We are issuing the mistake challenge.
The mistake challenge is simple but daunting. This week, we challenge you to make at least one brave, intentional English mistake in public. Go out into the real world or onto a Zoom call and deliberately use a new phrase like gonna or wanna, or link your words in a new way that feels unfamiliar to your mouth. You might mess it up. You might use it in the wrong context. You might sound a little silly. But you have to make the mistake on purpose to break the paralyzing fear of phonetic perfection. As the old naval saying goes, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor.
A perfect learner sitting silently in a room never becomes a fluent speaker. I love that. When you make the mistake, when you accidentally order the chicken husband, just laugh. Say, sorry, I'm still learning the rhythm. People will be incredibly forgiving. And remember, your accent, the unique way your mouth shapes vowels based on your mother tongue, is not a medical problem to be fixed. It is a passport stamp. It tells people where you've been, the cultures you carry with you, and the incredible linguistic journey you are on. Remember the golden rule of connected speech. Smoothness always beats perfection, every single time.
It truly does. Communication is about connection, not textbook correction.
So your actionable step today. Pick one phrase we talked about, just one. Give me a minute. What do you think? Gotta go. Use it out loud today. Engage the motor cortex. Say it to the barista. Say it to your coworker. Or if you are just too nervous to try it on a human, say it to your dog. Dogs never correct your grammar. My dog thinks I am a linguistic genius, mostly because I hold the treats. But just use it. Let the words hold hands and link together.
If we connect all of this biomechanical and psychological data to a larger final thought, it raises a truly provocative question about identity. We've established that the way we speak changes fundamentally depending on whether we are talking to a boss, a barista, or a friend. We shift gears. We adopt a new rhythm, a new physical posture in our mouths, a new cultural awareness. So does mastering these lazy phonetic shortcuts actually change your personality in your second language? When you stop focusing on rigid, perfect grammar and you start giving yourself permission to physically lean into the relaxed musical rhythm of the culture, you aren't just learning to speak English. You are learning to be a slightly different, more flexible, more adaptable version of yourself.
You started this journey worried that your brain was broken because a word vanished when you opened your mouth at a restaurant. But maybe the real breakthrough isn't fixing your memory at all. Maybe it's realizing that true fluency isn't about the words in your head. It's about training the muscles in your mouth to dance to a new beat, until that confident, fluent, relaxed new version of yourself finally gets to step out onto the floor.
A beautiful way to frame it.
Keep practicing those water slides, everyone. Go out and surprise someone today.